So today we're gonna take one or two pieces and create them from start to finish. And I have solid wood block. I always do encaustics on wood block surfaces or cradled wood panel. We don't use canvas because there's too much give. So the first thing we'll do is take our wood block and tape it around the edges with blue painter's tape. And the way I like to do it is right up to the very top edge and snug it in so no wax can seep down, and just go around the whole block. So when I start blocks, sometimes working on a couple at once is a nice way to go. And I like to just take smooth, even strokes. Again, the hot plate should be around 185 to 200 degrees Fahrenheit. And you really want to load up the brush that you're using with plenty of wax, let it drip over the edges, and you don't want to overlap too much. My one area is a little bit light there, so I'll go over that. Perfection is not something we're striving for. We're just really coating the wood block with the first few layers. Again, generously, liberally, letting it float right off the edges. I'm just going to go ahead and rotate 180 degrees on both blocks so that we can get a second generous coat. And this is one of the rare times I'll do 2 coats before hitting it with heat. And this is a really beautiful meditative part of encaustic painting. Don't worry too much about the air holes. Over time, they'll work themselves out. This is one of the rare times where I say go ahead and put on 2 thick coats before you fuse it. We're still doing base layers. And this is just white encaustic medium with white dry pigment stick that color. So keeping the brush relatively flat when I go across for a nice even coat. Pretty uniform looking surface. It's okay to have some undulations, but I'm just going rhythmically across, slow and steady, and not too close. As soon as you see it turning liquid, you go on. We're going to start setting up just a slight horizon line. Just wanting to move the brush along, kind of creating a little bit of reflection. I don't worry about the drips so much. You want to make sure your table is at a good height for you and that the room you're working in is pretty well ventilated. So again, I'm just using black pigmented encaustic medium. And it's beeswax, resin, and black oil or powdered pigments mixed in. And I think the key for everybody is just to get in there and move things around. You can always scrape or melt or fuse, but just having fun moving color around. We'll take this beautiful turquoise and a little bit of there. It's probably a little too loaded, so just use your paper to dab it off. And just trying to kind of lighten the color a tad. And now I'll just start to feather in around the top of this. Create a little bit of a scene. Maybe vignette the corners just a little bit. Knowing that we're going to fuse all this and then add a layer over it. And if you do anything that you don't care for, you can always scrape it out. I'm going to try to do some drag to get some vertical visual interest. Can always add more, and then I tend to just reuse all my scrapings and melt them down. All right, it's time to fuse with some heat. It's okay to linger in some areas to disperse the pigments. I think it's kind of interesting. And you can always go over it with white or something if it's too much. The goal is to take down some of the surface texture and tooth, and you can always leave some as you add to it. So next step is we're taking encaustic medium that's hot. Usually I like this to be all the way melted, and we're doing a top layer on this piece just to start giving it some dimension. And I think I'm just going to go across rhythmically. We've already fused